There was a bomb blast a couple of days before the event, and the year after that was the same thing. So not associated, but within the city of Lahore.
Yeah.
And so at 24, 25, you have to take the decision to keep a festival going in high alert Lahore and go sit with, government officials and try to explain to them why this is a good idea. Those are really hard decisions to take. But I will say this, I think the biggest achievement of LMM overall is the amount of people that have come in to that community. And so many of the volunteers ended up being musicians. Like Maanu is my favorite example. He was a volunteer doing artist management, and now look at him.
Hi guys, and thank you for joining us for another session of Daftar Khwan Fireside. Today we'll be welcoming Natasha and Noorani. I'm your host Seemab Saqib. I'm a photographer and a filmmaker, and I've had a brief experience with music as I was working as a creative associate for Coke Studio Season 14. Most of you know Natasha as a singer and a musician, but not many of you know that she's also the co-founder and co-curator of Lahore Music Meet, and also a music historian. As the co-founder and director of Lahore Music Meet, Pakistan's premier music festival, Natasha has showcased over 150 artists, organized 200 plus sessions and panels, and forged partnerships with industry giants like Pepsi and EMI. She has also contributed significantly to the music industry as the general manager for Coke Studio Season 10. She's also been the manager for the band Strings and marketing executive for City FM 89. Noorani regularly curates music and musical histories for outlets such as NTS and the British Council. Currently, Noorani is working on an oral history of the Pakistani music industry under the banner of Peshkash. Hi Natasha and welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm well, I'm excited to be here.
Same here. So Natasha, do you know how to play Jenga?
I know how to play normal Jenga, but tell me about this Daftar Khwan
Yeah,
Jenga.
so whenever we pick out a block, and if it has a green sticker, we'll have to pick out these questions and ask each other.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I like that.
So start.
All right, not the first
two, yeah.
Okay. Loose, there we go. I am question free. Aapki bari. अच्छा risky नीचे से आप.
Never mind, ऊपर ही आना पड़ेगा.
बचा हुआ है. All right.
No sticker.
I don't know why I'm taking this unnecessary risk. Okay. Go for it.
बहुत टेस्ट करना पड़ता है मुझे. नहीं, never mind. तो अभी से
I like the stress on your face. You're just like, oh dear. I like this.
Oh, it has a sticker.
Oh no, I was about to say abhi.
We have to ask the question.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so Natasha, how did you get started in music?
I had always wanted to be a musician. I remember when I was like 3 years old, I told my mom I wanted to be a musician. She's like, "Beta, unko to paise nahi milte." मैंने कहा फिर भी मैंने music बनाना है. I got my first guitar when I was 14, and I was just playing like terrible songs, गंदे covers बजा रही हूँ अपनी अम्मा के लिए कि आप impress हुई हैं, like कैसा लगा, and she would be brutal with her feedback. So she was like, but she would build me up much the same. But she would always be like, fix this note, it can be better. And I'm like, yes, Tiger Mom, all the way.
But that's nice.
It's the best to have somebody like care about your success like that, and that's a lot on my mom. I always knew that I wanted to get into that, I wanted to be a musician, I wanted to be around music, and so I started writing my songs in my early 20s, but I was just surrounded by music. My siblings listen to the best music. I have 3. I have 1 older sister and 2 older brothers, and so I'm the baby of the house. And so I grew up with all of their combined music taste, and so I
knowledge.
Exactly, and so I credit so much of my start in music to them.
Nice. And they're not musicians, right?
No, so they are also. Like my brother plays the guitar as well. Both of them. I taught one of my. I got another question.
Okay.
But yes.
After you answer this.
Yes, but yeah. So they both play the guitar. And everyone just loves to dance and sing and karaoke. So even if they're not professionally talented, they are definitely musically talented for sure.
Do you have to pick out a question?
Oh, I have to pick out a question.
Yeah.
What was the first instrument you learned to play, and how did that happen? So I answered that. I learned the guitar at 14, and I started learning the piano at 22. And
is it difficult?
The piano or the guitar?
Piano.
I actually wish somebody had told me to learn the piano growing up instead of the guitar, because it would have given me a much better grasp over theory and concepts. Guitar, magar acha cool tha na, you know, like when you're 14, you want to be like singing to all of your friends and being like, hey guys, ek kaun ka gana Smack That suna hai, main uska cover tumne sunati hu, like.
My turn.
That was easy.
Oh, question.
Acha ji, what is your creative process behind making music? Where do you start and when do you know that a project is complete? So this is a really like interesting question, because a lot of people ask. Songwriting isn't something that's really taught to, you know, young Pakistanis. There's shairi on one end, there's, you know, a certain type of shairi that is, you know, taught at school. That's one aspect of it. But in terms of like how do you write a song and take it right all the way to the end, most people don't realize that there's no one correct way to do it. Like the best thing is to just try whatever is easiest for you. So for me, melody comes first and then I write the words. And so for me, the focus is the instrumental or the chords or the, you know, the bass line, taking the song where it needs to go melodically. Because people tend to also remember especially when you're pop writing, you could write the saddest song in the world and make it pop and no one would remember. Like Chodo is an example of that. It's a song about heartbreak, but then you put it onto pop and it's just like no one cares. So for me, the process is I come up with melody first and then lyrics. And then even in lyrics, there's such a huge difference in writing between English, Urdu and Punjabi. Like, ab itni jaldi wo code switch nahi kar pate. You don't, you know, you're not able to translate certain thoughts into a certain language, or, you know, some word just sounds like weird, like in the pocket that you're trying to place it. So the advice that I would give to someone trying to figure out their creative process is, ek to aap apna time lagao akele mein, where you try to take a song from, you know, point A to point B, but also find collaborators. No matter how old you are, there's going to be somebody who wants to make music with you. ये नहीं होता कि मैं सुबह उठती हूँ, मैं कहती हूँ आज मैं गाना लिखूंगी, you know, कि अब, you know, बारिश हो रही है बाहर, चलें गाना लिखते हैं. It's more like you have to, you know, go to the office or the studio and make sure that you're spending 4 or 5 hours a day, you know, on either practicing, on either writing, on either jamming, whatever it is. But आपने अपने उस craft को उस हद तक time देना है कि आप, you can concretely develop an idea within a couple of days, within a couple of weeks. Sometimes an idea takes 2 years to actually complete itself.
But do you think it has changed as in when you started and now? Like,
absolutely. I couldn't songwrite up until my 20s, and even then it took me like a while to learn because I just never had anyone to make up songs with.
Yeah.
And then I was also really scared of embarrassing myself. You can't go to like people that you respect and like go to them and be like, hello, this is my silly little idea. But then I found a community of artists that actually love my silly little ideas. And then I stopped being scared to present them in that room because...
I'm actually in process of writing the first ever film. So this is why I keep asking everyone.
Yeah.
So how do you start? How do you know it's done?
Yeah.
So which is why I'm really interested in knowing that when do you know that it's done? Like,
it's done, yeah.
It's for the world to see.
I think that like give yourself a deadline. I always give myself a deadline, then give myself 6 months after that, always inevitably, because I feel like I want that much time. But yani ki ek cut off rakho, and then also you're so close to the project that you need to have friends and colleagues that you kind of trust to give you the right feedback.
True.
Because aap itna dekhte ho ki you forget what you're trying to do after a while. You're just so close.
And you're also lost in it.
बिल्कुल. And then आपको लग रहा होता है कि आपकी बात किसी को शायद समझ आएगी, लेकिन end में किसी को नहीं समझ आ रही. And those are the hardest points to rework. Like I've written so many songs where I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I'll make a friend listen to it and they're like, what's it about? And like, हमें तो नहीं समझ आई. So, and then I get really upset and I'm like, acha, I have to rework this. But in that process of reworking it and sitting with other people to write it, it's a magical part of the process as opposed to a hurdle. I used to initially think of working with other people or sharing my thoughts as a slight hurdle because वो मुझे feedback देंगे तो मुझे सही करना होगा. But that's how you get that communal vibe. बहुत शुक्रिया.
Thank you. I keep making questions of myself, but when do you trust your gut? Like, when do you not listen to other people and be like, oh, you know, so this is my work and this is, I'm going to go ahead with it.
This is really hard because I think जो reminders होते हैं ना, अपनी तरफ से वो ज़रूरी होते हैं. There are 2 strategies that I use, very like girly, like slam book, dear diary moments. लेकिन एक website है futureme.org. So every time I would do a big festival or a big concert or something that I had been prepping months in advance to do, while I was still in a stable space, headspace, I would send myself an email and date it the day before that event. So it would kind of be like a conversation with receiving a letter from past Natasha, just being like, take a break, listen to the song, recenter yourself, focus on कि आप क्यों कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि उस वक्त तक आप इतने अक जाते हैं काम से या जो छोटी मोटी चीज़ें हो रही होती हैं कि आपको बिगर पिक्चर आप भूल जाते हैं. एंड दूसरा, कीप जर्नल्स. My notebooks, anyone who's had a meeting with me will know that I come with my pencil box and my notebook. And उसके अंदर सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ ये है कि I document all my meetings and the to-do lists. But when I'm planning something out, that initial brainstorm, sheets, couple of pages, I have to keep going back to that. I have to be like, yeah, this was my vision. Because आप भूल जाते हैं बाकी लोगों की vision सुनते सुनते, अपने ही vision आपकी warp हो जाती है. So to have some kind of documentation, literally to go back to, or pictures or references or anything that can take you right back to the start, because that will help you refocus. अब मैं भूल गई हूँ कि बारी किसकी थी.
मैं यही बोल रही थी, मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं याद.
Oh, that was good.
Okay, so no question.
I like it. Okay.
So Natasha, what are some challenges you faced as a female musician?
This piece of Jenga. Okay, now we're done. As a female musician, female musicians have a very hard life. Okay, इजाज़त नहीं मिलती किसी को, studio space नहीं मिलती. I barely used to have permission to go and perform at a concert को सब कुछ मगरिब के बाद शुरू होता था. And just like the connotations that we have placed on female performers of any genre, it's not an easy burden to carry. It's not an easy burden to deal with the respectability politics of your life, of your surroundings, everything you do. If like in a way, I don't want to ever be too big, because I look at all of these like drama actor, actors, and they have like every part of their life is under scrutiny, and it's just like really toxic to be online and an entertainer and artist. But for female musicians particularly, my main gila with the industry growing up was कि जगह ही नहीं थी आपके लिए. If a young girl wanted to pick up an instrument, it was very unlikely that like when I was 14, no one else in my class wanted to learn an instrument. ये होता है ना कि 2-3 boys किसी class में गिटार बजा रहे हैं, school में एक बंदा होगा. When I was 14, I had to make a band with an 11-year-old boy and a 13-year-old boy. That was my life. And because no one around me no other girl exactly was making it. And then ऊपर से small like micro moments really defeat you a bit. Like I remember when I went to college, I was like, I get to play with some like really solid musicians, and I used to play the guitar up until that point. But क्योंकि इतने सारे guitarists थे, they'd just be like, यार हम वैसे तुमसे बेहतर बजा लेंगे और तुम singing पे focus करो.
You sing and
ठीक है. And so for 4 years I just didn't play the guitar, because I was like, you know what, you can play it better than me. But instead of encouraging me to kind of be better, I just kind of got disheartened from that process, and that wasn't really. It took a lot of my music away from me, and I'm sad about that. And every time I see that happening to young girls now, I kind of want them to be angrier, because I wasn't angry enough back then about this. I just kind of took it. And then just smaller things like the spaces you have to occupy. Studio spaces aren't accessible.
Yeah, but क्यों नहीं?
I don't think there are enough female producers that are, provided with those bigger spaces. Aapke clientele mein bhi, think about who's earning money as a producer. It's the men.
Yeah.
They are likelier to be hired because they have more experience. It'll be easier to deal with. The only time you hire a female producer or a female singer is for the token aspect. Agar aapne female anthem banana hai, to aap female producer ko hire karenge. But if you want to make like an agro masculine rap track, you will go to a dude. And that's like a common practice. That's always been that way. Is that the biggest producers are that.
Even abhi bhi, if you're saying na कि हम hire करेंगे female कोई fits like a particular कोई एक तरह की campaign.
Yeah.
But ये भी अभी होना शुरू हुआ है. When we were kids, when you were growing up,
absolutely ये नहीं था.
ये तो होता ही नहीं था.
Nisha थी, Zayd थी, Hania थी, Hadika Kiani was obviously there from the 90s. और कौन था? The Princess Annie, and really different pockets of women. But those were the women that I looked up to, because I was like, you are doing it. Even if I don't want to make the music that you're making, you are doing it. आपको इजाज़त कैसे मिली है? आप इस स्टेज तक कैसे पहुँचे हैं और
True.
इतनी इज्जत से कैसे पहुँचे हैं, अपने म्यूज़िक अपने हिसाब से बनाते हुए कैसे आप इधर आए, that used to be the curiosity for me. Um, and also just even in terms of I think the access that younger women have to jam spaces or like chill hangouts, right? Like boys kabhi bhi kahin bhi kisi bhi waqt nikal
Cafe
sakte hain.
में कहीं भी.
You know, like if I know that I have 4 hours between school and Maghrib, I really need to do that math, you know, like बहुत ज़रूरी होता है वो. And I think a lot of this still exists. However, I will say it is much better than when I was growing up, because now I can see 16, 17, 18-year-olds, women in their like early 20s, just really thriving and making the music that they want to. However, the same, everyone asks me the same question. They're like, Natasha, can you help us find a producer? Because also producers don't really know how to produce women, right? Like they're not used to a different voice, a different style, a different this. So inshallah, more and more female producers can come up, more, you know, women getting together, collaborating together independently. That started happening, and I hope more of it happens. But it's just, it's not fun. It's the hard part of like waking up and choosing to be an artist every day. All right, I don't know why I'm picking the hardest piece, but I am.
अभी तक सही चल रही है वैसे.
I'm free.
Unstable
हम जरा सोच समझ के दोनों की strategies चल रही हैं इस वक्त.
अच्छा जी. ओहो, नजर लग गई.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, no question.
Love it. Let me see what the next one is. Though. What are some of the biggest achievements and challenges you faced in organizing Lahore Music Meet?
This I really want to know.
Yeah, I mean, Lahore Music Meet was one of the best things that's ever happened to my life and my career, really.
And in Lahore also.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I hope so. Because जो अभी हमने जो बात की है ना, all of this anger and rage and talk about space, the solution was LMM. The solution was to create a festival that had the same feeling as Basant and like melas, where you could go with your family, your friends, whatever, and sab, you know, tamiz se raunak mein base hue hain. That's like, that was the dream. And we were 23 when we started it, and so that's like, I remember I was in my like last semester at college at that point, and I was not going to classes, but I was doing the festival. And tukke se humne kiya tha, because I had a certain sense of like organizing and managing from like college and all of the random ikka-dukka gigs that I had organized. But I think what we as a team really had was a couple of like very important principles and ethics. And the problem at that point was that corporate monopoly over music had really kind of caused the scene to be dead. And not just corporate monopoly, but the political situation, everything from 2007 onwards, you know, had just caused music channels to close down, venues to close down, you know, music shops to close down. And so in 2015, and 2010 में तो YouTube भी ban हो चुका था. So basically any glimmer of hope we could have anywhere, gone. And so in 2015 we were like, acha, if we want a future in the music industry and we're not connected and we can't be nepo babies, then what do we do, right? And so we started LMM, and it was, सबने सिर्फ हमारी नीयत देख के वो पहुंचे थे, बेशक वो, you know, artists हों या speakers हों या team हो, because we had no money, no sponsor really wanted to give us money. Like I think the question was like, what is the challenges? Is that at 23, I'm a political science major, not a marketing major, not a business major.
Nice.
I have to go talk to sponsors in 2015. वो ज़माना सोचो क्या था? And be like, मैंने concert करना है, festival कराना है. And they're like, इतने पैसे में तो हम fashion show करा लेंगे. And I'm just like, tears in the car. I was like, who cares about fashion? You know, like it's all about music and just like all of those things.
Very passionate.
Very passionate, but also like unable to fathom why somebody doesn't want to support their culture, right? Then the year after that, there was a bomb blast a couple of days before the event, and the year after that was the same thing. So not associated, but within the city of Lahore.
Yeah.
And so at 24, 25, you have to take the decision to keep a festival going in high alert Lahore and go sit with, you know, government officials and try to explain to them why this is a good idea. Those are really hard decisions to take. And like I look back at myself now and I'm just like, good for you, sis. Like you did well. But like us as a team, we were really going through it during that era, and it was really hard. I think the greatest achievement was the last LMM because 5 years on, 2020 Feb, was so magical because aapke, people, the first year we really had to beg people to listen to music. We're like, yeah, aap indie artists sune, they're like, what is indie? Ye kaun sa hai? Ye kya hai? Classical musicians, kyun nahi bula rahe aap? So we had all the uncles and aunties complaining, and it was just like, okay. So by the end of it, people were dying to get there, and we didn't advertise really large or anything, just word of mouth.
It really did pick up.
It really truly picked up, and it's such beautiful moments happening कि आपके साइड पे कॉन्सर्ट हो रहा है, अंदर सेशन हो रहा है, वहाँ एक साइलेंट प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है रिगार्डिंग समथिंग पॉलिटिकल बट फुल तमीज से, एंड देन उसके बिल्कुल साथ ख्वाजा सिराज विद देयर लिटिल ढोल की पार्टी हैपनिंग एंड रनिंग देयर ओन लिटिल फेस्टिवल ऑन द साइड. So just the fact that so many people can come there and be comfortable to be themselves. हमें कौन सा ये चांस मिलता है पाकिस्तान में? बहुत ही कम मिलता है, especially young people. Like there's no winning for us. जो भी अच्छी चीज़ होती है वो तब बहुत महंगी होती है या accessible नहीं होती.
That's so true.
So this has to so that's where this space needs to be for the musicians to earn the respect they deserve, and for the audience to learn to be an audience, because unko literally this was the major learning we had by year 2 is we have to teach this audience to audience. Ye nahi hai ki aap kisi walayat mein baithe hain jahan they know where they have to be there on time or do this on time. But I will say this, I think the biggest achievement of LMM overall is the amount of people that have come in to that community, like the team, the organizing team, the founders, the volunteers, the photographer, videographer, all of these things, because I didn't know all of this stuff, and so I had to really rely on everyone else's expertise to really help pick that up and create this space. And so many of the volunteers ended up being musicians. Like Maanu is my favorite example. He was a volunteer doing artist management, and now look at him.
That's so cool.
There's some really magical moments. Abdullah Siddiqui sending us his demo at the age of 16, and showing up and just blowing everyone's mind. 2016 mein ye hua tha. So all these lots of tidbits, but I could get into it and keep going. But the point is that I'm really glad I took that decision at 23 to go through with this, because I know I don't have the himmat to start it now. But I'm really glad I didn't know what I was getting into, and that it all just ended up being this really wonderful learning process. And in such a khoobsurat way, I can see the fruits of that labor in the industry today. I am destabilizing this with great success.
अच्छा, अब ये थोड़ी tricky हो रही है because okay, चलो फिलहाल ठीक है.
आ गया.
हाँ.
Sticker.
So what is your general approach to overcoming obstacles and staying motivated?
Realistically, I have a lot of downtime and a lot of time where I need to recover, and my recovery process that I enjoy is just drowning myself in work or completely shutting off, which means my phone is off, my TV is on, my 3 instruments in my hand, so I can keep switching between them and just kind of turn down the noise in my head. But I think that I think it's important to take creative breaks, because aapka burnout is a very real thing when you're doing any kind of work, especially if you've done production work. You know कि अगर आप 18 घंटे on call हैं और every phone call is life or death, even if it's just the set wala calling, every phone call has to be picked up. So the beauty in really shutting off from that, I really enjoy that, and it can manifest in any way. It can just manifest in whatever downtime there is. I think what recharges me is spending time with my family. My nephews and my nephew and nieces are they keep me sida. Let's just put it that way. And so it's just nice to reset that way, or spending time with my husband, or just anybody who makes me feel like a person and does not treat me like a professional or a colleague in that way. So I really enjoy that for my downtime, and staying offline. It's something I struggle with, but you have to go offline.
You can't just keep going and just being active.
Are not in our favor, right? So when I release something, I will have spent 6 months doing it, and it will get much less than I anticipate. And that's just what algorithms do. That is just what things are. And then like when you're reading all of that, when you're seeing other people do things, well, like naturally you're just like, maybe I should be doing more. And so that cycle leads to that burnout where it's like, I'm not doing enough, I should do more. So now I've like learned to put a pin in it and just relax and find some really bad reality TV show to watch. And I enjoy that.
Oh,
More
sticker. Yeah.
stickers. Okay, G. How do you approach the curation of music and musical histories for outlets like NTS and the British Council? I want to see the next one also, because they're both related. Could you share some insights into your Peshkash project? What are some of the stories and perspectives you hope to capture through it? So this is kind of like, they are friends, these questions, because they're aage piche. But I think with music, my obsession very much is nerdy also, where I want to know all the trivia, all the details about every artist, who made what, who produced who, what happened. Like मुझे CD के साथ track list नहीं आती थी, वो मुझे like गौर से पढ़ने का शौक है. And so I think in the pursuit of being a musician, being a festival organizer, even the festival itself came out through this academic relationship with music. And specifically with Pakistani music, because अगर आप Pakistani music को देखें तो जो आपके सारे institutions हैं, जो आपके सारे you know, whether it's PTV or it's Radio Pakistan or any of these things, जो सबसे you know the saddest thing is that they have not made our culture accessible to us. And I'm sure you've heard this also growing up कि तुम्हें अपनी like culture के बारे में क्या पता, तुम English गाने यहाँ पे सुन रही हो लेकिन Pakistani गाने क्यों नहीं सुन रहे? And you know, ठीक है, at a certain point you don't want to, but also where was I going to hear that? Like, why do I know about more about 1950s American classic rock music than I do about 1960s Pakistani pop music? You know, it's just a simple matter of those resources not being available.
True.
You know, कि ना तो किताबें आपने लिखी हुई हैं लोगों के बारे में, ना तो उनके गाने कहीं available हैं, ना तो especially not a few years ago you couldn't find any of these tracks. And so my pursuit of Peshkash is just that. Peshkash is an organization that I've started a couple of years ago now that focuses on archiving Pakistani music heritage in any way. So that could be music, that could be oral histories, that can be films, VHS, soundtracks, vinyl, any format that it comes on. I'm sitting there digitizing it and trying to make sure that it makes sense. Because when you look at a vinyl, like just the cover itself, it gives you so much beautiful data about what our culture was 40, 50, 60 years ago, which no Pak studies book is going to give you, which no, you know, like college book is going to give you, which nothing online will provide you with. And my master's was in ethnomusicology, which is the relationship of culture and music. It's like super simple. And that has been my whole life, is that I am a product of music and culture and music and how that's impacted my whole life. And I think कि एक सबसे जो खौफनाक चीज़ हो रही थी और हो रही है पाकिस्तान में is this idea कि हमारी सकाफत is under attack because of this erasure. You know that the people tweeting out, is this Islamic Republic of Pakistan? This is not Pakistani, this is not that, when actually it very much is. If you listen to 1960s, 70s music or watch films or anything, that is my culture, that is your culture. Of course, there's a multitude within that. मगर वो जो एक होता है ना rejection of these Western ideologies, हम सब एक post-colonial state हैं. Yes, we are fighting Western ideologies on a larger front, but most of these things are native to us, are local, are like what we, you know, what our grandparents grew up listening to, watching to, believing, living. And so the purpose of Peshkash is to bridge that disconnect, because my anger is towards these institutions and to, you know, our parents' generation for not teaching us this, because it's not our responsibility to learn. And so Peshkash is that project that will enable the future, the present, and the past to really come together in a way that Pakistani music will be both digitized and, you know, kind of taken care of, कि उसको, you know, उसको आपने संभाल के कहीं रखा हुआ है ताकि वो गुम ना जाए या जल ना जाए जब कोई नाराज हो जाए किसी से, you know, like it has to outlast us and last for the future generation. So I think Peshkash is meant for that, and that's why I curate the music and the playlist that I do, because I want people my age to know that Nahid Akhtar was singing, you know, like some say I am Sweetie, or like, you know, something,
Yeah.
all of those things, or who M. Ashraf was, or who Suhail Rana was, and all the kids' songs that we learned at school are made by Suhail Rana. You know, we don't know these small tidbits. Exactly. And I don't blame you for it, क्योंकि कभी किसी ने हमें बताया ही नहीं है.
और कभी पुराने गाने मिल भी जाएंगे ना कि YouTube पे मुश्किलों से, तो किसी और का नाम लिखा होगा. You can't say कि अच्छा इसने इन्होंने गाया या इन्होंने गाया.
वो copyright के इतने मसले पाकिस्तान में चलते हैं, वो तो that's going to require a whole other like fireside for. But yeah, it's a depressing kind of state of affairs, and it's been so for a while. So I think Peshkash is the project that I used to, have conflict with that depression, essentially.
Also, is the meaning, like the name Peshkash?
Yes.
Why?
It's very simple. It is what
the
it
meaning,
is.
Right?
It's like it's just it's a presentation of something. And also, वो अगर आप कोई भी पुराना PTV drama या show आप देखो ना from the 70s, 80s, वहाँ लिखा होता है end में credits पेशकश, you know, by this person. So it's like, you know, produced by or presented by.
पेश किया गया.
So the Peshkash aspect was just like a nice technical term we could take. Yeah.
And simple, but nice.
Exactly. Go for it.
Okay, so you have collaborated with numerous artists such as Strings, Abdullah Siddiqui, Talal Qureshi, and many more. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been amazing. To be in the room with any of these people is just such a joy. My collaboration with Strings was really fun because I was managing them at that point. And Bilal Maqsood asked me to come into the studio part of the office, and he was just like, this is my range, can you just sing these lines and these words and this melody? And I was like, sure. He's like, I just need a basic recording.
Okay.
And so it was meant to be a placeholder. It was never meant to be me. I was just doing a little experiment. So I thought, shayad ek layer dal denge backing vocals mein. But then I recorded it just casually in between like a meeting and an email. I just recorded it, went back to my office. And then a month later, he's like, yeah, we're going to use those vocals as your final. I was like, I'm on the song. Like, this is, wow, what's happening?
एक तो song पे ऊपर से वही डाल रहे हैं जो randomly गाया था.
जो demo vocals थे, you know, I was like, are they good enough? He was like, they're perfect, don't need any more, you know, this is great. I unfortunately wasn't able to be there for the video, but just to be on the last Strings album, like what a flex. So just working with Faisal and Bilal, I used to call them my work dads because they were the most wholesome environment to be around. You know, and they're both such different people but work so well together. And I learned so much about the music industry, about policy making and like legal aspects of things, as well as creatively how to curate a bigger audience, how to curate like bigger music and things like that. And that, like, you know, felt like a master's unto itself just by working there for that period of time with them. Talal and Abdullah, I will say, are my saviors, really, because at a time where I have been struggling so much to, you know, वही कि producers नहीं आपको मिल रहे, तो मुझे इस तरह के दो producers मिल गए that I'm working with obviously multiple people as well, but they've just been so kind in how they've lifted me up and built me up as an artist and kind of pushed me to take those risks. Even when you were talking about like how to start a project or how to, you know, end one, is you really have to ultimately trust yourself. But it takes a community, it takes a village of people to lift you up to get you to that point. And so I'm really looking forward to like more music with them. I'm looking forward to making more music with like other producers and, you know, pushing myself now that I have that confidence and I've built that, you know, system for myself. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, let's do it. We've been really good so far, I think. When can we expect a collaboration with Shay Gill?
Oh, this I read on Insta, right? Something was happening.
Yes. I really like that people want to collab with me and Shay. I love Shay. I adore her. I think she's just this like effervescent, perfect, you know, artist. And she's just, you know, I'm so excited to see where she can take herself as a musician, and I am ready to collab whenever, like, वो हम दोनों फारिग हुए मिलें फिर से तो फिर कुछ
please
होगा.
do it. हम दुनिया पे एक एहसान करें आप दोनों.
Yes, please. That is the plan. No, I'm really excited to like focus on other female, like work with other like female artists as well. Like the learnings there are just the best. Oh wait, I have to do this to do that.
Oh wow! So now we're literally on the edge.
Structural integrity has been compromised.
Wait. So how do you find synergy in the creative process, especially if you're working with a much more experienced artist?
Oh, kabhi baar dar lagta hai. Really, that's like the first instinct you have is like, will I mess up, or will they not like what I do, or will they understand it or not? I think it takes a lot of, like, what I tend to do with various artists is I really like for them to have a snapshot of who I am. So in my case, that means going along with a Bluetooth speaker and my phone connected and being like, hey, these are my song demos.
Okay.
Just so you know where I'm at musically, just so you know the kind of directions I want to go in and everything. And so that way they get a sense of the palette that I have or that I would want to explore. But I kind of let them take the lead until I actually have something valuable to say. So I really do like kind of reading the room before giving input. Again, a bit out of fear, you know, of like failure in front of them. But I have to say that there are usually two types of really big artists. Artists who really don't want to work with you, and you know that from the minute you talk to them.
Yeah, you get an idea.
Exactly. They don't want to be there. And then there's those who are open to anything. So I think with time, I've learned to figure out who is who and how much to push which one.
True.
But yeah, fear is the defining factor in the beginning. But I think I managed to just tell them what I'm about and then let them decide what they kind of, you know, want to make of that or do with that.
And who you've been the most nervous about, like to meet or to work with?
Oh man, back in the day, I was really nervous to work with Bilal Maqsood. That really, I was unable to like utter words. It just didn't happen. I have rarely been starstruck, I have to say this, because thanks to LMM and everything, I just got to meet so many artists, and I still haven't gotten the chance to work with people that would, you know, destroy me. Yeah, in that way.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, and also like it isn't great because I want to work with those artists. So fingers crossed that the next time we sit down, I have a juicier story to provide. Aapki bari, meri bari?
I think it's your turn, maybe.
We've lost track. Oh, one hand rule. I will oblige. Question. How did you come about exploring the different roles you could take on in this career? A lot of people think I'm indecisive because I can't choose between being a curator and a musician and whatever else I am. But honestly, I'm just really invested in music. Like, it is an obsession of some sort. Like, it really defines who I am. And for me, a lot of it is giving back. You know, I want to make sure that the work I do isn't just for me. So with the festival, the idea is to create that community or to allow and enable that community to exist. With the music history, it is to make sure that I am padha likha enough to manage to explain that and share that with other people, and also so that a future generation has those things. Production is about, like for me, it was two things. Is I needed to be employed somewhere that I really am not an office job person. I did those for a while, and it's really good to know corporate dunya. But I was never going to be in like a big multinational corporation working my way up the ladder. I don't have the attention span for that. It's just not in my nature. So production for me was that, because for 3 months, that set, that stage, that project is your life. Like, you are waking up there, you are sleeping there, and that's it. That's all you know is that happening. And I think that it really gave me my biggest lessons in life, in terms of, because there's no one to teach me how to be a music professional in Pakistan. There's no course I can take. मैं अगर वलैद से भी कुछ पढ़ के आऊँ, वहाँ तो actual systems हैं, you know, वहाँ तो आप procedure follow करें तो हो जाएगा. यहाँ का procedure क्या है? तुक्के पे चल रहे हैं हम.
तुक्के पे और धक्कों पे.
Really. Yeah. So for me to see the real world in action, and especially like in Karachi, because I really do feel like Karachi is where, like, it is really at the core of so much work, and the work ethic there is unbelievable. And I think it really, beat up the Lahori in me to, be that non-sust. Even with my music, I want to be able to traverse different genres. I don't want to stick to just one. If I can't stick to just one career, why would I stick to one genre? And I think that's also hard for a lot of producers and like professionals to understand. which is why I make music independently like I do, because that way I can at least take that vision from my little brainstorm and take it all the way to the end without having too much external input.
But there are two kinds of people, and
Yeah.
I've met the other kind like very few times.
Yeah.
So basically, the ones जो गाना चाहते हैं, जो सामने आना चाहते हैं, the other ones who are actually working for generations to come.
Yes.
So like people like you who are making opportunities for people to work.
I
think that's something like that needs to be that has to be a very selfless work,
It has to be selfless also because it's such an intangible consequence, right? कि आपको नहीं पता होता कि आपकी एक साफ नीयत से आगे क्या फूल खिलेंगे, ये आपको बिल्कुल नहीं समझ आती when you're doing it, and sometimes it takes decades, sometimes it takes half a decade, whatever it is, for just someone to come up to you and be like, hello, thank you for doing this nice thing, you did this for me, and it's like, wow, thank you.
Yeah, इतने साल पहले आपने ये किया
जी,
था
और उस वक्त आपको लग रहा है कि कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा मेरे लाइफ में, मैं क्या कर रही हूँ.
True that.
So it's I hope that energy lasts for Pakistan in general, for music in general. I hope more and more people decide to. I almost dropped it.
But it's very rare also. Like बहुत कम लोग मुझे ऐसे मिले हैं जो ये इतनी मेहनत कर रहे हो दूसरों के लिए.
थक भी जाता है बंदा. Yeah, we are now at the tricky stage of this.
कुछ नहीं कर रहा.
I think some of the side pieces, yeah. Oh. Yeah, because we did all the centers.
अच्छा जी. ओ कुछ हिल रहा है.
Yeah, you got one. Nice.
अभी गिरेगा, पता है, बहुत जल्द गिरेगा. So what is the one advice you would give to someone who's starting their career in Pakistan?
In music?
Yeah.
Or in art? I would say
both.
One thing I will say, which one thing I will say is that finish your degree if you can, because I like had lots of arguments with my parents because I was like, I want to be a musician, I don't need to go to college, like when you're 18 you think that's fine. But if you are starting any kind of career in Pakistan, you need multiple options, because you never know when you need to pivot, you never know when the music scene could collapse again, or like some security issue happens, or you have to really be prepared for the unpreparable. And I know this may seem really pessimistic, and I want for people to be like, oh wow, karna chahiye, but it is the logical thing to do, because yahan wo pathways nahi hai. I've seen so many incredibly talented artists, different genres, whether folk, pop, rap, whatever it is. And some of them just never make it because नहीं वो आपकी infrastructure ही नहीं है ना तो आपके music TV channels है जिसपे वो आए, ना तो ये है वो है. And a lot of people, like it takes money to make money also, hiring a producer, studio, music video भी अब बनानी मैंने गाना भी बना, so it's constant, like it's a money drain also to get to the level that you want to be. So unless you have investors, which is rare because we don't have record labels right now in Pakistan, you need to have an alternative life planned out.
Bilkul, and this is for any other art career.
Precisely. कि आपको नहीं पता होता कि आप filmmaker, when will the film industry collapse again?
True.
So like I'm sure you're also concerned कि अच्छा
off
मैं film बनाऊंगी.
On season for photography, films don't pay well.
Absolutely. And so you want to be able to do that. Like if I hadn't gone to college, I couldn't have become a music curator for the PSL. I wouldn't have been able to curate Groove Mera. So you never know where that basic level of like workmanship will take you. And I am going to say this is not to say for those people who have chosen to not go to college that there is no hope, but have alternatives planned, because I know I can't make all of my income through music. Like that is really myopic thinking to think that I would. And so I need to constantly come up with alternatives of like consulting somewhere or doing something that. So my advice overall would be, if you're starting a career, just make sure that you are open and willing to learn. I know the confidence with which we start work and our career, and we think we're running the world.
That's true.
वो लगता है कि सिर्फ हमारी दुनिया हमारी उस पे चलेगी. But really, it's really important to learn also when to listen and when to be a chota also. When to ensure that you're like there's two sides of the coin. It's to ensure that your ego is never getting in the way of anything, but also to ensure that you are not being pushed around. So same point, and you have to keep that balance. And I think the first couple of years of your career is a little bit of learning that balance.
Mostly people are like, oh, so how much will this pay?
Yeah.
Whenever they're talking about a new project or meeting people. And I think for us, we've done so many मुफ्त के काम कि बस experience हो जाए, कोई काम मिल जाए, और आप लोग नहीं करते ऐसे, like they're like कि नहीं बस.
Absolutely, we're getting because at some point you need to draw the line for yourself, but I feel like some people will not even try.
Yeah.
And that is where the community and that camaraderie and that, you know, those things show up as well. जब आप खपो और आप साथ किसी के खप रहे होते हो, yeah, you can put it back in.
Or maybe I can take it out.
I like your risk-taking attitude. Wow. It wasn't me. That's all I want everyone to know. That's okay, we can restart.
Okay, yeah. So I'll ask you the next question.
Yes, go for it.
Which music producer, Pakistani or global, would you love to work with, and why?
Okay, I would love to work with Oaf and Savera. These are two, I don't even know if OAFF is how he spells it.
Okay.
These guys are from India and they just did the Gehraiyan soundtrack.
Ooh.
And I really like them because the Gehraiyan soundtrack is great because it's got Dube. I don't know if you've heard Dube and this one other song. I would love to work with them because from my understanding, they are also essentially just the indie boys that really made it big and broke through Bollywood there and did it with their own sound. And the vocalist that they have, I know her Instagram handle, but I've forgotten her name. She is also so phenomenal. So these producers, these artists is who I would really like to work with.
And that was the first debut in Bollywood.
And I think so, from my understanding. But they've been making music for many, many years. But as producers, it's been just so wonderful to see them grow from this side of the border. And just, I would love to be able to get to a point where we can just go to India and collaborate with people, you know.
That's very true.
Yes.
What do you think is the future of Pakistan's music scene? Very bright.
It really is. And I mentioned earlier that it wasn't bright. You know, in 2015 when we started this festival, it wasn't bright, even just before COVID. And I think the really wonderful thing is, my theory, and I don't know if I'm right or not, is that COVID really reset what was essentially the mainstream monopoly of these artists who had been active since, 2000 and, up until 2010. जो उस decade में बड़े थे artists ना, वो 2010 से 2020 तक भी उन्हीं का राज चल रहा था.
Yeah.
And some of it was warranted because they were releasing new music, but some of them were just sharing the music that either had come out for their Coke studio or for their, 10 years ago. And so even when people would be, I'd ask people, who do you want to see live? They'd say the same old names. Or when I talk to a corporate, they're like, we only want these 5 people. So I think that monopoly kind of got thwarted by COVID because जो उनके लिए infrastructures बने हुए थे, वो तो सारे collapse हो गए. But then who came out of that 2020 music collapse was your young stunners, your Hassan Rahim, your Maanu, all of these artists, Mehek Qayyum, Amna Riaz, so many talented young individuals were just like, हम घर पे बैठ के ये कर सकते हैं. And they did it. And I think that was the reset we all needed and we were all waiting for. And there's obviously an infinite list of artists that I can mention for this, but it's been so nice to see their faces on billboards instead, you know.
Producers ने वहाँ से उठाने शुरू किए, आवाम तो इनको पसंद कर रही है.
This was our plan with LMM that long ago कि यार इन लोगों की भी बारी आनी चाहिए. And to see them now kind of go a little ahead with, whatever, and to get that corporate thappa being like, yes, we like you, you're good enough, and their music is now being played internationally. All of these artists have such a huge following in India. I love that. Right? There's such a huge cultural cross exchange that is happening constantly, that they are global artists, that it is a global phenomenon. And I think it is really bright actually for the first time in my lifetime. I'm seeing what is the Renaissance in many ways that people keep calling it, but it really has a lot to do with a bunch of things, right? पहले आपके वो audience members नहीं होते थे, अब हैं. Music, the one thing I want to clarify is musicians never stopped musicking. And all of this time, in all of these decades, I have seen such phenomenal artists. But अब सारी चीजें align हो गई हैं, and it's just a wonderful scene to witness and be a part of. So it's really, really exciting. Okay, I'm going to play another game while you ask me questions.
Okay. So Natasha, what is the most valuable life lesson you have learned? Very deep.
Yeah, this is such a hard question to like answer. I think I mentioned it a little earlier also, which is just be more gracious than you think you need to be with every moment. I think that really helps in thumbifying your ego in many ways, is just be much more gracious and grateful for the moments you have in life, even when it doesn't feel like you are. That you need to fake it till you make it. And the other one is ke chota ban ke raho. Really, truly, like that will get you so far, because you should never think you're above something.
For sure.
It's like a simple thing.
If you could switch lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I'm thinking TV shows or books. I wouldn't mind being somebody in the Mad Men era. I just like that era a lot, and I like that show. I think her name is Christina Hendricks. Yeah, I'd love to be her. She's
And
awesome.
why?
Because she deals with everyone's bakwas so well, you know, and she's just getting work done. So like, I think her or
So basically, you want to deal with bakwas well.
yeah, I want that. I think that's like I would put that on my resume if I could, you know. Or I would want to be the girl that plays the organizer in Vital Signs Dhundle Raste.
I remember.
So they have like a drama that came out in the 90s, and there's just this. I feel like I am already that girl, but I would want to live her life. I would want to just.
What was the name?
Dhundle Raste.
The girl's name.
I don't remember.
Okay. I think मैं देखूंगी जाके.
Yes, please YouTube पे देखना.
Done. What is the one big thing you would like to achieve in your career?
I don't know. Like I mean, it's very hard to quantify success in these ways. Like, I wouldn't mind breaking through into an international market, whether that's the UK or US. I think that would be nice. But I just want to do this with happiness and joy and respect for the rest of my life. I think the goal is to make it to the finish line, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's because I see so many people like leave their dreams. Even like post college, all the musicians I used to jam with, they all got jobs, and they're like, yeah, this dream is dead. And I was like, no, let's keep going.
True.
And
कुछ साल बाद फिर regret करने से बेहतर है.
Exactly. So I'd like to see this through. I think with a certain amount of respect, and you know, it'll be nice.
Do you have a comfort song that you listen to when you're feeling down, and why? Why the particular song?
I have lots of comfort songs. I have to say, like, there's my, you know, when I'm feeling down, sometimes I want to just keep feeling down, and so like I'll listen to the saddest music from my O levels. So I have a proper O level playlist. But if I need to like lift myself up, I think I would listen to Kylie Minogue's "Spinning Around." That's just like a really, really nice big song, and instantly puts me in a good mood.
So what's the most memorable fan interaction you've had so far?
One time I was visiting a friend in Islamabad, and we were leaving a coffee shop, and this young girl in her early 20s, you know, she walked past me, and then she does a double take, and she's like, you're Natasha? And I was like, yes, I am. And then like she's like panicking and freaking out, and she's like, but you don't live here. And I was like, yeah, I live in Lahore. And you know, she's just like, I wrote my college paper about you, and this happened, and then that happened, and meanwhile she's like crying.
Oh.
And then she just like hugs me for like 5 minutes, and my friend is in a corner laughing. You know, कि तुम्हारी जिंदगी क्या है? क्यों हो रहा है तुम्हारे साथ? But it was the most wholesome, most sweet interaction possible. That and this one 6 or 7 year old girl that we met, whose mother was like, oh, you know this girl, she's the Faltu girl. And so the minute she said, I know, which is like, I love that name for myself. But she said Faltu girl, and like her face was first, as kids are, very unimpressed. You know, okay. Kaun auntie se aap mila rahi hain, you know? And then she was just like, her face just went like, the biggest eyes I've ever seen, and then she just like went red, and she couldn't talk to me, and her mom was just like, take a picture with her, and she was just like, you know, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I do this for.
So I think ये age group जो है ना, so I need to tell this to everyone, because I tell this to Natasha every time I see her. So I went to Hunza for like 2 months. हम वहाँ पे film shoot कर रहे थे for like और हम छोटी बच्चियों के साथ काम कर रहे थे like 10 to 15 year olds. And वहाँ पे they kept singing don't be और 2 महीने के बाद we were all singing it because they kept singing it every time we used to shoot. तो उनको रट्टा हुआ था गाना पूरा का पूरा. I'll send you videos for sure.
I love it. I really love the kid demographic I have. Like sometimes I'll get voice notes on like Instagram from someone's parents' account. Like the mom will be voice noting their kids being like, Natasha, आप अपने वो निकल गई थी फिर धागों में से. Because in Chodo, I'm stuck in the dhagas for a bit, right? And so I was just like, oh my God, you're so concerned. This is so cute. God. And I love that. I think I'm playing alternative Jenga really well, actually.
Have you ever had any embarrassing moments on stage that you can share with us?
Yes, many. Like, so many embarrassing moments. I remember I was playing a show last year and the sound went off thrice in the middle of my song.
Okay.
And I was really lucky that my band was on stage with me, because if this was one of my solo shows, I would have just like dubified in some sharam. But like a full zone ke andar aa rahe ho, ekdam se audio off, and you're just like, oh, ye kya ho raha hai? You know? And so it also then turned into the most magical moment, because the third time we got on there, it was just, the crowd just started chanting my name, which has never happened, which was just like a very sweet, like everyone was in that frustration with me. You know, technical difficulties to har kahin hoti hain, but to like have a whole like audience of like, you know, 1,000 or so people just like there for you, just went from really embarrassing and enraging to like the most wholesome, sweetest kind of moment. And I'm grateful to like everyone in every audience that is just that kind to me. It's really a gift.
Do you notice expressions while you're on stage?
Oh yeah, just like I see everything when I'm on stage. Just in case you think I don't, because actually lighting is tarah hoti hai ki audience pe bhi aa rahi hoti hai. Then I can see, like what I do is I sometimes like to pick on or point at people who are disinterested. I'll just be like, you sing with me, and they'll be like, oh, because at least they get panicked, and I'm like, good, you should be this panicked if you're not listening to my music.
That is true. What's the most unusual or surprising talent or skill you have that most people don't know about?
I can talk like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Do you want to do it for us?
Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind. Hi, my name is Stitch.
I love this. You're so good. Wow.
If anyone needs voice actors for animated things, I'm available.
This was very good.
Thank
I like it. Okay, so we're done, guys. We're done.
I think this has been this alternative Jenga dukaan that I have made. This is my favorite part of this.
I thought I would win because you were answering questions, but
I'm so used to multitasking. You know, you don't know. Like I hustled you. That's what happened.
That's true.
But thank you so much for game night. This was really great.
This was nice. Thank you for coming, and thank you for answering all our questions.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay guys, I've had so much fun getting to know Natasha more, and if you guys want to watch more videos like these, please go to Daftar Khan's YouTube channel.